25 at 7:03 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber, which has been duly noticed in 2 places, including the city's website, in accordance with the requirements of RSA 91A. Tonight, the prayer will be offered by Alderman Tebow, and Alderman Lopez will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance, please.
Alderman O'Brien. Alderwoman Timmons. Alderman Moran. Alderman Thibodeau.
Here.
Alderman Govea.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman Sullivan.
Here.
Alderman Clemmons. Alderman Senate.
Here.
Alderman Jettie.
Here.
Alderman Tebow is here. Alderman Klee. Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Here.
And Alderwoman Wilshire.
Here.
You have 10 yeses and 5 noes. You have quorum.
Thank you. I know that Alderman O'Brien had a death in the family, so he won't be joining us, and I believe that's about it that I know of. So tonight we have several public hearings, and I'm going to turn this meeting over to the Chair of the Budget Review Committee, Alderman Dowd.
Yes, we have 8 resolutions before us this evening for public hearing. We will start right in with R25-182, authorizing the mayor to enter into an amended federal and program project agreement with the state of New Hampshire for an expanded Walnut Street Oval intersection project, and to accept and appropriate an additional $1,174,476.74 for the project. Is there anyone here that's going to give us an overview? Director Hudson.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members. So this is an amendment to Walnut Oval project. I think we're all very familiar with that project. This receives more money from the federal government. We had $1 million in congressional directed spending, which we might have mentioned previously, but we hadn't actually gone through an acceptance process on that yet. So this accepts and appropriates that additional money. Of course, that requires some additional match. Thankfully, all the additional match for this agreement has been secured under the previous resolutions. Most recent, I think we were here in June with R25-144, and that was for an additional $600,000 towards this project. So that, in addition to the original funding, satisfies our match for the project. I'd be happy to go in more details about the project or the agreement, should anybody have any questions.
Do any of the aldermen have clarifying questions for? Yes, Alderman Lopez.
Is there a specific timeline for beginning this project?
A good question. So this project is underway. We've been designing the project. The additional money, like I said, has been received. We're moving into final design at this point in time, soon into going into the right-of-way process. So we're on track. We were hoping to advertise the project early next year. We'll see where we get, how long it takes us to get through the rest of the process. But yeah, we would like to get this agreement in place. We're not going to spend all this money right away, but it'd be nice to get this agreement signed so the DOT knows if we go all the way to construction that we're going to stand up to our share of the funding and move the project forward. And as I noted, the city's already set aside our portion of the funding, so I don't know why we would delay signing this agreement and moving forward.
Any other follow-up, Alderman Lopez?
Yeah, just to clarify, I know the project is underway. Like the design say, is there a point when the construction, like traffic disruption starts?
Oh, okay. Good question. Yeah, I mean, when we actually get into construction, like I said, we're trying to advertise the project early next year, which would mean starting construction next spring timeframe. So yeah, disruption would occur at that time. And it would probably take, probably more than one full construction season. So we're looking at probably a year plus of disruption, unfortunately. But again, the project is to improve bicycle pedestrian accommodations, as well as make a more efficient and orderly traffic flow. So we feel it's a good project and hopefully worthy of the disruption of the public.
Any other clarifying questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll now call for testimony in favor of R 25-182. Seeing none, I'll call for testimony in opposition to R 25-182. Name and address for the record.
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. A point of just clarification for me, and when it says it's to expand a federal aid program and appropriate an additional, accept and appropriate an additional $1.174 million, is that all federal money, or is some of it city money?
Dr. Hudson.
There's a table in the agreement which shows exactly how much is federal, how much is local. So that the way the resolution is drafted, I'm clear. I think that's the federal portion only, because that's the portion that we're receiving to appropriate to expend. So the total project cost is a 80-20 match with DOT and the federal highway extended, where they pick up 80% of the cost, we pick up 20. So hopefully that helped address the question.
Thank you.
Okay, so the reason I got up to speak against this is that we don't have any accounting of our money on projects in this city. I drive by almost daily the Riverwalk project, and it's been almost a year since the Economic Development Director came in and gave an update, which was not fully accurate and detailed. I'm going to say a month, 6 weeks ago, I put in a request to follow up on where do we stand on the spending. I got the typical runaround from the city. It's going to take, and what I asked for from Liz Hoonan was to provide me with any expenditure reports or updates that she gave to her management. Now, I would think that if she's tracking the money, the management, either Director Cummings or the mayor, would get a statement that would show where are we on our spending? What do we have left? What have we spent down? Are we overspent? Where are we? And some kind of report would be given to them. A surface report. I don't think she's going to hand them 1,000 pages of invoices. I was told that that's going to take months for me to get. I'm not asking them to compile records they don't already have. And I don't really see them as...
We're not talking about that project right now. We're talking about what's on the table for the public hearing, which is the Walnut Street Oval.
And I'm telling you, sir...
If you want to say that you want accounting for the projects, fine, but we're not going to go into detail on a TIF project.
We are, because I'm here and it's my time to speak. And you don't have the right to close that down when I'm explaining why I don't support it for a project. Go write another resolution, sir, like your public comment and your posters and your banners, but that doesn't exist right now. I'm saying I'm not supporting it because we can't get any accounting on projects that we have going on. And I don't think I should have to wait. Now, I heard through the grapevine that Director Cummings is going to come in and give an update to the board, maybe in the next meeting in August or the one after that. Meanwhile, I'm still waiting on my right to know response. If he can give an update to the board on the project spending, I should be able to get my records. There is no accountability for money in this city. It is terrible. Nobody follows up on the projects. There are 4 board members that should stay in this chamber come election time. Tim Sennett, John Sullivan, Tyler, and Chris. And I would have named Ernie, but he chose to resign. The rest of the people have not pulled their weight on letting us know and following up on projects for spending. So I'm not for creating more projects, because once it gets going, if it's an 80-20, whatever it's going to be, We'll never know what that project cost. We still don't know what our art center cost. So that is why I'm a no. Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition? Seeing no one else?
I'm on the way up. I'm a little bit slow yet, because getting over that broken kneecap, and I work today, so it's a little bit slow. My name is Paula Johnson, reside at 15 Westbourne Drive, Ward 5. Now, here's my question. So the $1,174,476.74 is the federal part of the money. Okay. So we had to contribute another $600,000 on top of the $515,461. Is that correct?
The city portion of the funding that's been obligated to date, the original amount was $555,000. That was in our 22038, in addition to some West Pearl Street money. And then the latest, as I said, is our 25144, which is $600,000. So those two together are over $1 million. So we don't, on paper, we don't need that yet, but you know the nature of bidding and all those sorts of things. We have a little bit of a cushion for if the price increases higher than that. Of course, we would expect that would come an additional federal share too. We would have to be back for you for approval of any additional expenditure or cost. Even this, you know, this funding that was approved, we still need to bring all the contracts to you for approval. So there's plenty of opportunity and plenty of exposure to what the costs of the project are as we move through the process. Hopefully that addresses the question.
Thank you. That's another $1.5 million, and I guess the question on this $1.5 million on our contribution, is this going to be a bond? Because I ran into Mr. Cummings today. I don't think I pulled the surf out or anything else, but I said at this point for 2026, we're at about $21 million worth of bonding. He agreed with me. He said, I think it's about 26 or 27 million. I said, I thought that you all voted on like what's not supposed to be more than maybe 25 million, but he was going to come in and talk about this. So you know what? How can we, the residents of this city, trust what's going on with this board and don't ever cut me off and have an attitude towards me? Because you say one thing and you do another thing. $26 million is a lot of money to bond in a year. And I'm looking at the spreadsheets, what's going to be in 2027, 2028. And you know, people have to pay their taxes. If people will forget, in order for you to get this money, where do you derive your tax money from? My son, when he was in 3rd grade, and the teacher said, how does the city get money? And he said, taxes. And they said, how did you know? My mother's with the Taxpayers Association, and he knows all this. Okay, this was a 3rd grader. Could you be smarter than a 3rd grader? It used to be a 5th grader, but I'm going to say 3rd grader. This is what my concern is with the projects that are being laid out in front of us. Our 20% share, we're talking millions of dollars as we start adding them up, and is this going to be a bond? That's all we do is bond. Because remember, this is the board, and when I came in and I talked about the vehicle that you had no idea what it was going to be. Was it going to be a Caterpillar? Was it going to be a Volvo? Was it going to be a John Deere? You had no dollar amount to it, just a number that it could be, and you voted to bond something that you didn't have a number. Would you get a mortgage from a bank? Would a bank ever give you a mortgage to buy a house that you didn't know exactly what you're going to pay, what the house was going to be? No, you wouldn't. Alderman Dowd used to be a realtor. You know that. A bank wouldn't lend you money like that. That's ludicrous. So this is what my concern is. I guess it's not that far off from Mrs. Ortolano, whether you like her or not. But the questions still remain. Is this going to be bonding? And are we getting to that point of the total amount that we were going to bond in 2026? Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition? Seeing none. Once again, testimony in favor. Seeing none. And once again, testimony in opposition.
Paula Johnson, 15 Westbourne Drive. So is this, our 20% portion, is this going to be bonded?
The answer to that question is yes. The two previous resolutions that were approved for this project for the city portion of funding was bonding authorization, and my understanding is this is included in the city's bonding plan.
And can I ask Mr. Hudson a question through
Yes.
you? And what year is this going to bond? Is this going to be 2026, 2027, 2028? 2029?
So that does depend, obviously, when we actually get into construction, that sort of thing. Usually with this bonding authority, we expend project funds and then pull a bond later. So I'm expecting that would be a year from summer, so that would be FY '27, is that right? Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we've hit the max yet there, but we're shooting for it, I'm sure. Thank you.
Any other in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing on Resolution R-25-182 at 7:19 PM, and I'll open the resolution on R-25-183 at 7:19 PM. R-25-183, authorizing the mayor to enter into a federal aid program project agreement with the state of New Hampshire for the purpose of designing a new pedestrian bridge over the Nashua River and to accept and appropriate $500,000 for the project. Ms. N?
Liz Hannum, Economic Development Director. This is for a creation of the pedestrian bridge, which was part of the Riverfront Master Plan. This is congressionally directed spending that we would be accepting. Again, it's an 80-20, so $125,000 would come from the existing TIF bond.
Okay, any amplifying questions? Alderman Lopez?
This is for the footbridge to Mine Falls from the pending development over at Mohawk Tannery?
No, this is on the east side from the BAE's Canal Street parking lot over towards the library.
Oh, it's to redo that footbridge? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is part of the original master plan for the riverfront.
Do you know when the last time we actually did anything with that bridge was?
I do not.
It looks like it's original.
So this, Dan Hudson, city engineer. So this will be a new bridge. Currently, the crossing is a pedestrian facility tacked onto the side of the railroad bridge, which we do not own. We have an agreement with them, but that crossing has some issues. We looked at whether we could rehab that, upgrade that. We decided that probably wouldn't be in the best interest. It warrants a separate pedestrian bridge for the extended future, especially since we don't own the other bridge that current crossing is on. So this is a completely new bridge.
Any other amplifying questions? Thank you. I'll now call for testimony in favor of R-25-183. Seeing none, testimony in opposition, R-25-183.
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. Couple questions about this. This is $500,000 for design. What did we anticipate in this riverfront project for the cost of design, construction, all in to put this in? Do we have a cost estimate for this?
For just the pedestrian bridge?
Yes.
So we anticipate it's about 1.5 million.
And will that be a bonded project as well?
Likely it will come from the TIF cash eventually.
How can I track the TIF cash? That was one of my right-to-knows that I put in trying to understand the spending. How can I track the TIF cash? What account is that?
It should be coming from the TIF cash account, which should be the same as a School Street TIF account, same as any of our other special revenue accounts.
Is it the School Street TIF? Is that what this one is?
No, this is a separate.
It's called the Riverfront TIF?
It is.
Okay. Yeah, I don't support this because we don't have any accounting. This is all part of the Riverfront project. And I go by there and I see a project that's completely stalled, that isn't working, that's not done, that I can't get any financial accounting on. And here we are with the next phase of design and ultimately development to just spend more money. I know this is an appropriation for federal money. I'm starting to become more concerned for federal money. I really am. When I listen to the mayor talk about not backing a tax cap because we're uncertain if we lose a couple $1 million of federal money, it would hurt us and we'd have to make that up in the tax base. I have a big issue with the mayor on that. If we lose federal money, we shouldn't be making it up with the tax base. You have to adjust and cut your spending. It should be transferred down onto the property owners, ideally. That's really not right. And that's where the dependency on federal money becomes a real issue. And I notice Chris Thibodeau almost always says no to federal funding. I'm starting to think he's on the right track. I'm really thinking it's not a good idea. I did not like what the mayor said at all. We're too dependent on this money. And even though this is only $500,000, there's another 1.5, it's really 2. I don't know how much of that is coming from matching funds. But we never have our hands around the actual costs of these projects. And we don't know what they cost. Art Center downtown, I saw the right to know from Director Cummings. When a citizen sent him a right to know and said, can you tell me the total cost for the project? And the email to Gary Perrin is, we don't know. We don't have that number. You got to be kidding me. I don't think we just need to cut some of this federal spending. I think we got to cut some upper management pay as well. Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition?
Paula Johnson, 15 Westbourne Drive. I just have a question, really. If the president cut the federal funding for these pet projects, what would happen to this project?
Ms. Henn?
So if we did not receive federal funding, we wouldn't do the project until we could afford it.
I know this is out of order a little bit, but I just wanted to clarify. Do we know if the president can cut congressionally directed spending?
I think that's probably a question that can't get answered here. I'm sure there are a lot of people who'd like to know that, but this is not the venue for it.
I'm just curious. I mean, because you don't know. What happens if the government went bankrupt tomorrow and they didn't have the money? I mean, people laugh and say that can't happen, but it's happened before, you know, during the Great Depression, you know? So, I mean, the
On a shared project, if we don't get the federal funding, we won't be spending the local
Okay.
funding.
Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition? Seeing none, once again, testimony in favor. Seeing no one, once again, testimony in opposition. Seeing none, close the public hearing on a resolution R25-183 at 7:26 p.m. And we will open the public hearing on resolution R25-184 at 7:26 p.m. R25-184 relative to the supplemental appropriation of $25,618 of FY 2025 unanticipated driver education revenue into special revenue account number 2201 Driver Education Fund. I believe the financial officer from the school district there, Crystal?
Yep. Yeah, good evening. So Crystal DeGray, COO, Nashua School District. So just to shed some light here, this is our special revenue account 2201 Drivers Education Fund. We are looking to go ahead and accept this additional revenue. Unfortunately, there was a loss to one of the driver education vehicles earlier in fiscal year 25. Luckily, nobody was injured from our team, and it was not our fault. So we would like to go ahead and accept this additional revenue, which is directly from the loss of the vehicle.
Any amplifying questions from the members of the board? Okay, none? Thank you, Crystal. Now, testimony in favor of R25-184? Seeing none. Testimony in opposition? Seeing none. Testimony in favor? Seeing none. Once again, testimony in opposition? Seeing none. Close the public hearing on Resolution R-25-184 at 7:28 PM, and open the public hearing on Resolution R-25-187 at 7:28 PM. R-25-187, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed $500,000 for the landfill gas expansion project at the Solid Waste Department, Four Hills Landfill.
Dan Hudson, city engineer, here standing in for Jeff LaFleur, superintendent of solid waste. At the landfill, the decomposition of waste kicks off landfill gas. We were required by a permit to collect that gas. It ends up getting burnt off in a turbine, and electricity is made from it. But we routinely need to work on the gas system. We have to raise well heads as we fill areas with trash, and repair some of the header lines, various things like that. So this money enables us to do that work. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Any clarifying questions from anyone on the board? No, thank you. I'll now open up for testimony in favor of R-25-187. Seeing none. Testimony in opposition?
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. Again, I've raised this before when I've come to some hearings. Why are we bonding $500,000? Why would we do that? Such a small amount. Pay the cash. You're going to run that out 20 years for $700,000 or $750,000? We don't have enough money to support $500,000 out of a $400 million budget. I think there's a money mismanagement issue here, and it defies what the city told us, the Budget Committee and John Griffin, regarding how we were going to handle bonding. And I just don't understand why we're not doing that. No household would run that way. Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition?
Paula Johnson, 15 Westbourne Drive. I have to agree with Ms. Ortolano here. It's a small amount of money. Would this be a 20-year bond, 10-year bond?
In the packet, you'll note that the bond is a 20-year bond. Of course, this is authorization to bond, not a requirement to bond. So, should there be proceeds available in the regular budget to accomplish this, certainly that could be done that way, but it's kind of a policy decision on what we bond and what we don't bond, and this has been scheduled to be bonded.
That's crazy. This is small money, really small money. You know what you bond. You bond projects that are long-term. You bond a school for 30 years, the buildings, but, you bond roads for 10 years, and the life of the road is maybe 5 years. You bond equipment 10 years, and a vehicle's life is maybe 5 to 6 years, 7 years tops, and you're paying all that interest. I wouldn't do that in my own household. I live within a budget. You have to think about how you're bonding things and what's really bondable and what you shouldn't bond. Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition? Seeing none, testimony in favor, again? None, and testimony in opposition again? None. I'll now close the public hearing on Resolution R-25-187 at 7:32 PM. Open up the Resolution R-25-188 at 7:32 PM. Resolution R-25-188, authorizing the mayor and the city treasurer to borrow an amount not to exceed $6,192,000 through the issuance of bonds and/or a loan through the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services State Revolving Loan Fund for the wastewater treatment plant Phase 1 upgrades project.
Good evening, Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. This upgrade project is to address several issues at the wastewater plant with the existing infrastructure. Some of the project includes concrete repairs to tanks and buildings, HVAC replacement in one of our 3-story sludge buildings at the facility, the replacement of large process gates and valves at the facility, replacement of 2 large underground flow meters, installation of 2 new sodium hydroxide tanks, sodium hypochlorite tanks, repairs to our septic receiving area. It also includes groundwork and paving to correct stormwater drainage issues at the facility.
Any amplifying questions? Alderman Lebo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the $500,000 bond for the first one and the $6 million for this one, is one of the reasons we're doing the lower one because can we combine them all at one time, or do they have to be all separate? I don't know who can answer that one, but I'm just wondering if these are more grouped together when we actually go out, or do they have to be completely separate, and that's why we would bond $500,000 compared to $6 million in the next one?
I know this one could be possibly SRF money involved.
Okay.
So I don't know if they want to bond them all together or not.
Do
And are you
do
talking
not have
about the,
people that can answer that question here? Treasurer?
City
or
Treasurer, can you answer that?
Somebody?
right?
Dawn Enright, Treasurer, City of Nashua. You do not want to combine an SRF loan with a general bond obligation, and this is an SRF loan, so it's different finance.
So that 500 has to be separate from any other bonds, and this one has to be separate, but,
This one has to be separate, yes.
I was just trying to figure out why the 500,000 compared to like these other bonds we have on here, and is the 500 being put in with another bond, or?
They'll be sold with other bonds, yes.
Okay.
But this is, the 500 is for a specific project, so it's listed separately in the authorization.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All set. Alderman Senate?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I look at this, it seems like this is sort of an if-then situation where we're considering either a bond, but if not, maybe a loan. I guess I find that kind of confusing because we authorize this today, but we don't know quite what the terms of that loan would be, but we do know the terms of the bond. At what point, once we presumably approve this, would we know the deeper details of something like that?
Well, the SRF loan is usually low-interest loan. We have to apply for it, and which we did, and we just have to see where we place. So it might be available to us, might not be. So I think once it's available to us, well, I'm sure we know the terms and conditions of the loan. That's why we applied for it. Whether it becomes available to us, because all the facilities apply for this loan, and they dish out the money based on critical needs of whichever wastewater facility it happens to be.
Sure. Great, thank you.
So basically, they're asking if they are successful in getting the loan, that we allow them to accept it. If they don't get the loan, then they will bond it, and it's under enterprise funds.
I got that.
Okay? Any other questions? Thank you. And I'll open it up, testimony in favor. Seeing none, testimony in opposition.
Paula Johnson, 15 Westbourne Drive. Thank you, Alderman. That was an excellent question. I mean, you have to ask these questions. So here's my question, I guess. Why wouldn't we just wait to see if we get the loan rather than voting for a bond tonight? Why wouldn't you just wait? Is there something is it immediately that you have to, because you say that normally you use your money, then you get the bond and you kind of reimburse yourself. So why wouldn't you just wait to see if the revolving loan comes in at this point in time, rather than doing a bond?
You want to answer that?
I believe we need something like this in place in order to apply for the SRF. We have to show that we're actively working towards the project to apply for it. So and that's to get on the list. And we have started the preliminary design project already.
And I believe that it's critical that you get this work done so that we still have a wastewater facility.
Yes, it's to maintain the existing infrastructure.
Right.
Well, let me ask you a question. How long have we known that we've had problems with this infrastructure? That is kind of like on this urgent list now.
These things were all, we did a 20-year plan of the facility, and everything in the facility was noted and what condition it was in. So we're going to be upgrading the facility in 3 different phases. So this is the first phase of all the infrastructure needs that we have. Some of the other phases will include new regulation requires us to have new processes and that. So we're trying to upkeep the existing infrastructure first. So some of these issues we've had for a long time. It's an old facility, and they just keep getting worse. We're trying to prevent it from getting even worse to the point where we'd have to replace the whole thing. We don't want to do that.
Okay, so my question here again is that we knew that we had issues here. And why haven't we taken care of these issues as it's gone along? This is what I've been asking all along here. Where has been our maintenance plan on facilities here? It seems like when we get to the point that it's almost going to crumble or we're going to have big problems, all of a sudden now we're working on it. Instead of a smaller price tag, it's a larger one. It's like putting a piece of bubble gum on that dam that's going to break. And you hope that piece of bubble gum is going to keep the water from coming through. And then instead of dripping, it explodes and you have the flood. Now, I know that some of these have to be a federal mandate. Am I correct?
Yes,
So some,
federal requirement.
okay. So does the federal government come down and do any inspections of the plant?
Different aspects of the facility, yes, they do.
Okay. And so have they targeted anything?
If
couple
you're going to
years
answer, you're
ago?
going to have to get closer to the
Okay.
microphone.
You know, he answered the question, basically, that we've had problems here. Now we're kind of doing catch-up and to a part of the extent. Am I correct? Some of them, it has to be.
Yeah, these are no major problems. We are trying to fix these things before they become major problems.
How long have they been a problem?
Well, some of them are cracks in foundations and cracks in tanks, and
So it's been there for a while, it doesn't crack overnight. Thank you very much.
Anyone else in opposition? Seeing none. Testimony once again in favor? Seeing none. And once again, testimony in opposition? Seeing none. I'll close the public hearing on R-25-188 at 7:41 PM and open the public hearing on Resolution R-25-189 at 7:41 PM. R-25-189.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just a point of order. I think you jumped over R-25-185. I didn't know if you were taking them in order.
I don't see that.
Oh, we don't need to do a public hearing on that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm looking at these things.
R-25-189 is authorizing the mayor and the city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed $3,280,000 for various wastewater capital improvements.
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. Again, this is for various wastewater capital improvements throughout the city, both inside the wastewater facility and outside the system. It includes stormwater management throughout the city. This includes installation of stormwater treatment units, drainage swales, and other solutions to address areas in the city that experience drainage issues during heavy rain events. We also have the combined sewer overflow consent decree that the city has. This is for operational expenditures. This is for preparation and implementation of a system-wide operation maintenance plan for the wastewater collection system. This is also required by the EPA. A combined sewer overflow flooding funding. This is to address areas that continue to experience issues related to surcharging of the sewer system during heavy rain events. This would also include some sewer separation, also road restorations and other remedial construction. The Merrimack River Levee Rehabilitation. This is the Nashua Levee. Every year, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers does an annual inspection and cites different deficiencies. So this would cover repairing those deficiencies in a timely manner. Some of the deficiencies we've seen in the past is damaged sod on the bankings, animal burrows, cracked concrete of the levee, some overgrown vegetation. We also have some equipment, some gates on the levee that need repair. Sludge storage tank, this is at the wastewater plant. We have 5 sludge storage tanks and the equipment internally. It's a mixing system that has to be replaced and the tanks resurfaced inside. Our SCADA system, which is a supervisory control and data acquisition system. This is the computerized system at the wastewater plant that the operators use to start and stop the equipment, make sure everything's running properly. It also takes live data so we can collect it and send information to the EPA and the state annually. Rebuild the wet weather bar rack. This bar rack is in our wet weather facility. It sustained some damage during the January heavy rainstorm. So this would be repairs to bring it back to its original specs. And wastewater treatment facility miscellaneous electrical component upgrades. There are 3 transformers at the facility that have to be replaced due to age, as well as some 2 MCC panels and some switchboards at some of our buildings at the facility.
Any amplifying questions from anyone on the board? Alderman Tebow?
How long have we known that we've had all these issues?
These are all ongoing issues. Like I said, the levee inspections every year. We constantly have CSO issues, and it's weird because they don't show up every year. Like the rain hits differently in the city every year, so you might have more rainfall, a quick heavy rainfall in a section of the city you didn't realize either the pipe's too small or that section of the city needs to be pipes increased. There's some other things at the wastewater facility that just at the end of their life expectancy. So this is part of our capital improvement WRF upgrade, like the sludge storage tanks. The SCADA system, that's a computerized system that all the licensing would need to be upgraded with that. The software and the hardware needs to be upgraded just due to age. So these are kind of ongoing things. The electrical is also age. It's that it's, this is all things that we knew were coming. We did do the 20-year plan to, look at this. We built it into our rate study so that we could pay for this with the enterprise fund, try to level it over the course of the years. So it's, some things, but.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All set?
Yeah.
Alderman Lopez?
Is this exclusively funded through bonds, or are there areas where, like, TIF district might be a funding source? Like, we fixed the plumbing on Franklin Street, maybe Lost 34's existence could then fund part of the repairs there?
That I don't know. TIF, are you saying TIF?
Tax increment financing?
Yeah, that I don't know. If we could use that.
Any other amplifying questions? Seeing none, we'll open up the testimony in favor. Seeing none. Testimony in opposition. Seeing none. Once again, testimony in favor. Seeing none. Once again, testimony in opposition. Seeing none. I'll now close the public hearing on Resolution R-25-189 at 7:47 p.m. and open the public hearing on Resolution R-25-192 at 7:47 p.m. R-25-192, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed $4,025,000 for the city's sewer infrastructure improvement and sewer drain casting replacement program.
Dan Hudson, city engineer, so I'm up assisting Dave here. This is also work that is funded through the Wastewater Enterprise Fund. I'm up here because engineering tends to help with the collection system work, so this is what our CCTV work, CIPP, lining, sewer repair and replacement under dig contracts, structure work to support the paving program, and also just general structural repairs This also can fund emergency repairs if we have them. So it's kind of all-inclusive of everything related to the sewer collection system and structures related to that. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Any amplifying questions from anyone on the board? Alderman Lopez?
So basically the same question. If this is a citywide program, are there areas where it will be operating that we might be able to draw funding from TIF district cash monies?
So I'll venture into this territory lightly, but my understanding with TIF districts is that it's tax increment financing. You build something, it increases property values, and then you take that increased property value and you apply it to the project cost, right? In this case, we're repairing sewer pipes into the ground. I don't think this type of work would increase property values. I mean, if we're in the process of expanding the sewer system out in areas that weren't currently sewered, that certainly might be appropriate, but I'm not sure if that's an appropriate use for funding for this activity.
Can I just ask the chair, ask Director Hannum through the chair if she knows what I'm talking about?
Director Hannon?
Liz Hannum, Economic Development Director. Yes, these are eligible funds, but as Engineer Hudson mentioned, these are not the best use of those. We also, the riverfront funds are fairly tight because we have now bonded 7 million of that. So we've sold 7 million of the $21 million bond so far. So we are starting to pay back that. So we are keeping a close eye on what funds are in there, and we don't have, we have enough for maintenance down the line in addition to the debt service, but not a lot of extra if we wanted to do additional bonds there. Does that answer?
Yes, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Alderman Senate, did you have a question? No? Alderman Timo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Mr. Hudson, through you. So how urgent is this, and what is the unintended consequences if it didn't get done?
Of course, we have planned work we'd like to do, so this, you know, when this is authorized and we proceed with putting out contracts to do the type of work we think is appropriate to do, the CCTV and the lining of the pipes, so we find that have issues. This has been a continuing program. We come in every year seeking this funding, and it's been indexed for inflation. Years ago, it was on the order of $6.5 million a year. I think we're looking at, we had stepped back to like 3.5, and now we're slowly working our way back up to like $4 million a year. As I said, some of this could be used for emergency repairs, so if we don't have the bonding authority in place, if we had an emergency, we'd have to come back and seek emergency funding for that specific thing. So, I mean, I understand there's competing needs. We feel that looking at the sewer systems, we're trying to stay ahead and making repairs before they go into those more costly collapses and dig projects. We think that's prudent, and there's still plenty of that work that needs to be done in the city.
Great, thank you.
So if you put it off, you could have an issue with it during the following year, and the year after that, you're going to have the stuff that had failed this next year, and it'll just be more expensive the next time.
Yeah, I mean, there's been obviously public testimony, people wanting us to stay ahead of things, not letting them get to the point of urgent, I guess is the right word, need, and this is one of those cases. This is a regular program. We think it's been very successful, saved the city a lot of money through the lining versus the digging and repairing. In addition, part of the work is we're cleaning pipes as we're doing that CCTV inspection. So, you know, we're getting great operational benefit as well. We're seeing fewer CSO discharges and things like that. So, all around, we think this is a good program, and are seeking continuance of it.
Any additional questions? No? I'll open it up now for testimony in favor. Seeing none. Testimony in opposition. Seeing none. Once again, testimony in favor. Seeing none. Testimony in opposition. Seeing none. I'll now close the public hearing on R-25-192 at 7:52 p.m. and open up the final public hearing on R-25-193 at 7:52 p.m. R-25-193, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed $3,800,000 for the design and construction of a wastewater treatment facility vehicle and maintenance garage.
Thank you, Dave Boucher, Superintendent of Wastewater. This is to build a vehicle maintenance garage at the wastewater facility to house our vehicle fleet. We have a lot of expensive assets. This would include our 2 large sewer cleaning system jet trucks. We have a clamshell truck, a camera vehicle, some 3 crane trucks, and some smaller vehicles that should be housed to prolong their life. We also have emergency response vehicles. These are our cleaning trucks. These have water tanks on them. In the wintertime, we should store them inside and have water on them available to increase that response, decrease that response time. Currently, we drain the truck every day, fill the truck every day just to keep the equipment from breaking. We have trucks that have sensitive equipment on it, like our camera truck, the crane trucks. We also would be building a maintenance garage and electrician office as well in here, or electrician workshop. The reason for this is that as we pursue doing a Class A biosolid, this is a process that dries our sludge even more, which is kind of the way we're going because of regulations. The most logical and likely area to put that processing would be near the Class B process at the wastewater facility, and that happens to be where the current maintenance garage is. And the current maintenance garage is undersized as it is, so it makes sense to do this vehicle garage along with building the maintenance garage attached to it to save money. This project is part of the 20-year facility plan and also paid for through the enterprise fund.
So safe to say it will relieve some of the pressure on our SURF funding by letting these vehicles get out of the elements and last longer.
Yeah, this is part of our work funding here at the wastewater.
Amplifying questions, Alderman Gavia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you just said it right at the end. So this bond is covered by your enterprise fund?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I feel like it's going to come up, so I just got to ask. $3.8 million for the design and construction. I have to believe that the total cost of this project is not going to be $3.8 million.
Yeah, this is intended mostly for the original design and some of the early construction drawings.
Okay.
But yes, the total construction cost would be greater.
So you'll probably be back in the future for another comment on this. All right,
Correct.
thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. I'll now open it up for testimony in favor of R25-193. Seeing none, testimony in opposition of R25-193.
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. So I really don't like the way this is presented for this garage for design at 3.8 million, because we're not getting the information on the total project cost. And I was here at one of the last public hearings where some of this came up, and I think Director Cummings spoke, and it was like a $62 million garage project. Is that the project we're talking about?
No.
Okay, what project is this? This is a separate garage?
This is a garage at the wastewater treatment facility down by the Nashua Country Club.
Okay, all right. Now, have we had a presentation on what the total cost would be for that garage?
Good. Answer.
No, we haven't. We're at the very early stages. We're looking at different areas we could put it at the wastewater plant and how much area we'd need for it. So it hasn't been presented yet.
I think $3.8 million for design and then come up with the construction idea is huge for a garage. I'm struggling with that. Director Cummings gave us this little rule of thumb, didn't he say at one of the meetings that design and construction costs would be like 10% of the project? So you're talking about this garage being potentially 38 million, and then the garage that's going to be at, down by exit 5 would be 62 million. I think that's astronomical for garages. I understand the benefit for vehicle life and wear, erosion, all that stuff, and to have one area to do electrical work, maintenance. I really do. But I am struggling to understand the costs of a garage. Okay, I don't know if this is multi-floor. Are we pulling these big trucks up on level 2, or is it just level 1? I cannot support this, and I would want to know more before spending $3.8 million on another garage. I think it's just unbelievably expensive. Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition?
Paula Johnson, 15 Westbourne Drive. I'm a little bit confused. Sometimes I get confused here. The maintenance garage, is that just for the electrical end, or is that for the vehicles?
The maintenance portion is for the wastewater maintenance crew to do work for wastewater. It's not to do maintenance work on vehicles.
Okay, so that's
This
still
is-
going to go to the bond?
This is strictly for all maintenance that's done at the wastewater facility for the pumps and that.
Okay, so it's not a garage to repair, that will still go to the bond that you're going to build off of West Hollis Street. And Mrs. Orlando, it's, right now, the design is $7.7 million for the bond, because I spoke to, if I'm right with Mr. Cummings, because it was 2.2, and he's talking about 5.5 now. So if we're going to do 10%, that would be almost like a $77 million.
Please direct your voice to the mic,
Anyway,
otherwise it's not gonna-
that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition? Seeing none, testimony in favor? Seeing none, once again, testimony in opposition? Seeing none. I will now close the public hearing on Resolution R-25-193 at 8 PM. And do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the July 28th, 2025 special meeting of the Board of Aldermen be adjourned.
Motion is to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're adjourned at 8 PM.
Feels good, doesn't it, Tom?
I haven't done
Before I knew it, I'm like,
Oh,
Look just like her mother.
Carly?
airport of the mall.
Yeah, very sad.
But I'm not
So-
going.
Second.
That is a beautiful woman.
Because the sign is not big enough.
No, it's because my dumbass wasn't paying attention.
Okay. And
We're ready.
ready? Going to call the meeting of the Budget Review Committee to order. It's July 28th, 2025. It's 8 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. And the meeting has been duly noticed in two places, including the city's websites in accordance with requirements of RSA 91-8:22. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify, it's 8:05 for the record. And Alderman Richard A. Dowd, Chairman.
Yes, present.
Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien, Senior, Vice Chair. He is out. Alderman at Large Lori Wilshire.
Here.
Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
Here.
Alderman John Sullivan.
Here.
Alderman Derek Tebow is here. Alderman Tim Senate.
Here.
We also have Alderman Jetty, Ernest Jetty here in the chamber. We also have Liz Hannum, Economic Development Director. Tim Cummings, Online Administrative Services Director. Lisa Foto is not here. Tim Cummings, again, he's on the agenda twice. Crystal LeGray, Chief Operating Officer, Nashua School District. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. David Boucher, Superintendent of Wastewater. And I think that's it.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone that wishes to give public comment?
Oh, Mr. Chair, I'm here to speak on R25.
You got to give your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Dave Fredette. I live at 4 Henry David Drive in Nashua. I'm here to speak on R25 185. First of all, I want to thank all the 9 endorsers on here. That's good to see. This is for the Senior Center in Nashua. I'm currently the chair of the board of the Senior Center. I've been on the board for 10 years, and I'm an appointed member by the mayor. Of course, along with us is Alderman Karen, who's been on the board for about 15 years. This resolution is because since fiscal year 15 through fiscal year 24, we have done a resolution similar to this every year. Last year, myself and Alderman Karen met with the mayor and asked if this could just be put in the budget, since we do this every year, the same thing. And he agreed, and it was in last year's budget, fiscal year 25. Somehow, it was not in this year's budget. I just think it was some kind of an oversight. But anyways, so this is coming to put this in. The money is, we usually put 5,000 of the 35,000 as a rainy day fund. We keep this. And the rest of the money is mostly spent on the facility itself. I'm not sure if you've been in there, but if you go in any time, the building is spotless. It's kept up quite well. It is a building owned by the city. The city bonded for this 20 years ago or so. I think this might be the last year on the bond. I just here to see if there were any questions on it, but that's what we've been doing anyways for the last 10 years.
All right, thank you. We'll see if there are any questions come up when it's on the agenda.
All right, thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. Communications.
We have communications from Lisa M. Foto, Director of Public Works, regarding referrals from the Board of Aldermen resolution.
There being no objection, I'll accept the communication and place it on file. First item, unfinished business.
We have R-25-151, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed $5,500,000 for the Public Works Division, garage design. I'd like to make a motion to amend R-25-151 by replacing it with the proposed language recommended by bond counsel.
So this evening, what we're going to do is act on the change in wording recommended by bond counsel and then send it to a public hearing. Does anyone have any questions on the change in language that the treasurer would add, or are you all set? Looks like we're all set. All right, so the motion is to amend R 25-151 by replacing it with the proposed language recommended by Bonds Council. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Alderman Timo?
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve R-25-151 as amended, hold a public hearing followed by a special budget review committee meeting on Tuesday, August 5th at 7 o'clock in the Aldermanic Chamber for further discussion.
All right. Are there any comments, questions? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business resolutions.
R-25-182, authorizing the mayor to enter into an amended federal aid program project agreement with the state of New Hampshire for an expanded Walnut Street Oval intersection project and to accept and appropriate an additional $1,174,476.74 for the project. I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
So the motion before us is to recommend to the full board final passage of R 25-182. Questions? Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. I did listen to the recap in the public hearing. Thank you. So when I was looking at the resolution here, there are two different project titles. There's 41586 and 41586A, and each one has a chart. And I know it's an 80-20 breakdown. I'm just curious, when I went through it, the total project cost for this Walnut Street, I understand it's expanded, but is $4,045,000. And according to those charts, we have a local appropriation of 1.155 million, which is more 70-30 as opposed to 80-20. And I'm just curious to, hold on 1 minute. $800. So it's I have a total between the two of $800,000. I apologize about that. So I'm just curious, is the total cost here $4,045,000?
Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So, yes, that's what we currently have programmed. As I noted, we are still continuing to work our way through the design process. So estimates will get refined. Then eventually we'll go out to bid. And then the market will tell us what the project is worth or not. Hopefully we're close with our estimate. Lately, we've been doing pretty well with that. But so we don't, to be honest, we know what this agreement is, but we don't know what the final project cost will be exactly. That will depend on what we get for bidding and what we can award. You're correct in that the city has obligated more money than we currently need with this agreement. We've obligated, I think my math was, we had $555 and then we added $600, so I think that's $1,155,000 of city money available to match, but we certainly won't match any more than the project actually costs, 20% of what the project actually costs. I didn't dive into the details of the child project, so to speak, but I'm glad that you read into that and want to talk about it. As you know, we received an additional $1 million in congressional directed spending that had a deadline on it. The deadline is the end of this September. It had to be obligated by. So what we had to do is we've used some of that money through the design process. What we did is we broke out a child project, so a project that could be constructed standalone, that wouldn't impact right away. So we could do that quickly. We can't quickly do the right-of-way acquisition part, right? That there's a whole process. So working with the DOT, this is what we came to was breaking out a child project. We're doing that for the purposes of obligating the money. We're unlikely to go ahead and advertise that immediately. We'll probably hold back. We'll finish the design for the full project. Probably advertise these two projects together. Hopefully. The same contractor will be interested and be awarded both contracts at the same time. I'd be happy to address any additional questions.
Follow up, Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. Okay, so that's where I got the 1.155, because that's what you said, as opposed to what we have actually appropriated. So going back to the public comment, so we've appropriated more money than we need right now, according to the 80-20 rules. Right now, it's 70-30-ish. How do we, so when this project is complete, obviously these funds won't be expended, we'll have to come back, it'll go back into another fund. And just to the point during the public comment, how can we track this project just to make sure that we're only appropriating 800,000 as opposed to 1.1 million?
Well, this is bonding authority, so, and that was done prior to this agreement. So we don't have to spend all that money. It's not money that goes back into account. It's money that we then wouldn't bond if we didn't use it, right? So it's yes, it is eating into our total acquisition of bonding authority. That is true, potentially at the offset of something else, but it is just bonding authority. It's not cash that we're putting in the account and then not spending it and returning it. So, you know, the nature of these projects tends to be that the costs go up, not down. So, I mean, when we went through the resolution process to extend the funding, we could have pegged it to exactly what we need for this project per this existing agreement. But my anticipation is that things could come up that were unforeseen. You know, inflation continues to occur. So I think it's prudent to set aside for local match more than we would need to. Otherwise, when we went to award this project, we would have to step back and amend you know, the funding, which would just delay actually getting into construction and that sort of thing. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All set, Alderman Sullivan? Alderman Tebow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Mr. Hudson, I trust you still. You haven't let me down yet. But, you know, I think about federal funding, you know, to the point of what people were saying. And, you know, if someone comes to my house and says, I'll give you a new garage, you have to pay 50% of it. But if I don't have the money for the 50% of it, I don't care if they can pay for the other 50%, I still can't buy it, right? So that's the thing I get nervous about with federal funds. But unlike, you know, other aldermen, I like federal funds typically, because when we don't have to match, they're free. So I like that. But when we have to match, we still have to think about, do we have enough money still to make that match happen? I think I will support this, because I think it's a good project and it needs to be done. We need to fix that oval, that whole section there. And I know costs are going to go up, and I do get worried that, you know, when we come to next year, all of a sudden, it's going to balloon again. So I don't know how we protect from projects going up like that, you know, knowing that next year we could have to pay a little bit more. But I'm going to support this tonight, at least to the board, full board.
So, as you're working this project, you report back to the Board of Public Works, and we can definitely share the information with them, because I'm sure they'll be tracking it. It's their project.
Yeah, again, this is bonding authority, but every contract comes for approval, either to the Finance Committee, if it's sufficient enough, like the construction contract certainly will be well over $1 million. That will come to the full board for approval. So there's full transparency, and you know, we get audited by the state and federal government. So, you know, it's all, we have all the tracking that anybody might want on this. So.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. In that case, all those in favor of R25-182, vote in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next. R25-183.
All right, we have R-25-183, authorizing the mayor to enter into a federal aid program project agreement with the state of New Hampshire for the purpose of designing a new pedestrian bridge over the Nashua River, and to accept and appropriate $500,000 for the project. I'd like to recommend final passage to the full board.
Well, the motion on the floor is to authorize to the full board final passage of R-25-183. Questions? Alderman Senate?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the bridge that we're addressing came up in the public hearing. I'm just hoping to get a better understanding. So as far as I understand, that pedestrian bridge that's attached to the railroad bridge will not be removed. Is the crossing going to be at the same place that it currently is, where it terminates into that sort of shared parking lot, I guess it is, between Margaritas and BAE?
Who's Annan?
Liz Hannum, Economic Development Director. So it would be adjacent to the current railroad tracks. I think technically those are not pedestrian usage, even though pedestrians have been using it, but that is private property. So as part of the Riverwalk, this will design the foundations on each side and the actual bridge as well.
Follow-up?
Follow-up?
Thank you. I'm downtown enough. Yeah, I think there is a lot of talk going on that it does seem like things have kind of stalled downtown in regard to the Riverwalk project. I guess two-pronged question, what's going on there?
Okay.
And in conjunction with that, is this a timely matter, given that it seems, at least from outside perception, that construction has stalled down there, and yet we're looking at a pedestrian bridge on the other end?
Sure. I'll start with the second question. So the second question is, we do have to get an agreement signed for congressionally directed spending on a timed schedule. So that's why this is coming up now rather than later. We have several years to put the actual work to use. So we need to get the agreement signed and then actually design it over the next few years. The work on the north side behind Hidden Pig there is stalled. It's paused right now. We had a steel delivery issue. And so the substation screening is currently being fabricated a little behind schedule. And we have to get that installed before we can finish the boardwalk on that north side. But the south side is still on schedule.
Follow-up?
Yes. I hesitate to use, I guess, language from the home, but design has become something of a red flag for me. I feel like we get a lot of projects that are getting hung up in the design phase, and then we just keep coming back 6, 12, 8 months, asking for more money. Will $500,000 cover the cost of design and drawings and whatever else needs to be done, so that the next ask is just construction costs?
Likely with this project, it will. So it's actually going to be, with our match, it's going to be $625, I believe, is the total for design. So that the 125 additional match would come from the existing TIF bond. And we're actually planning to use a prefabricated, pre-engineered bridge. And so the engineering that we're talking about is really just the foundational work. There's a lot around that because there's a lot of infrastructure that's existing in the river bank area there. So it is going to be fairly expensive to do the design work, but this should cover it.
Sorry,
Follow-up?
she opened a new can of worms. The prefabrication, again, two-prong, is that similar to what I know we had implemented, I want to say it was last year, maybe the year prior, in Mine Falls Park, when we had to replace a failing bridge? And then is there a long life expectancy with that prefabrication?
Okay. I don't actually know about the Mine Falls, so I'm going to hand it over.
The answer is yes. It would be very similar to that bridge. That was pre-engineered bridge as well. So we designed the foundations. We put the whole package out to bid. We provide some general criteria: how wide does the bridge have to be, what loads does it have to carry, that sort of thing. And then the selected contractor has the bridge designed by the structure of the bridge designed by the fabricator of the bridge. And then it comes delivered and erected on site. So very similar to that bridge, yes.
Thank you.
This crossing will be, as Liz said, it'll be west of the railroad bridge, but it'll be more perpendicular to the river than the current bridge. The current one's kind of on a skew. And then we would tie in all the pedestrian paths and everything to provide the connectivity.
I can tell you, by the way, having worked at BAE for over 30 years, that current pedestrian bridge next to the tracks is not safe. It's never been safe.
It was safe when I was 13.
And you don't want people crossing, especially now that there are more trains coming across it. They've fixed all the track, and at least once a day now, and maybe more. So You don't want people crossing that bridge when there's a train going across it, and there's no way to control that. Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. Director Hannum, sorry. Not so fast. I'm just, can you, if you explained this already, I apologize, but I just want to get the understanding of these federal funds. This passes tonight. We let somebody know it passed. Do the funds appear in the Riverfront TIF district?
Sure.
How does that work?
So I'm up here because these end up passing through DOT.
Okay.
Congressional directed spending gets routed through DOT for management. So it gets handled just like any of our other local project administration projects. DOT funding is always a reimbursement basis. So basically we sign this agreement. They've committed to their federal share of the project, 80%. We do work, we submit reimbursement requests, they pay us back. It's that sort of relationship. As Director Hannah mentioned, the local match would come from Riverfront TIF funds. So in our accounting of those funds, we would need to segregate that as being obligated. You know, that's no longer available for something else. We've set it aside for this portion of the work. That's generally how it works with the federal government funding.
Okay. Just a
Follow-up?
more of a comment. As far as the federal funds, I'm more apt to support federal monies when it comes to a one-time project, as opposed to developing a program that kind of we get stuck with and have to hire people for, and then they take it away and we have to keep it, and anyway. So I'm in favor of federal funds for this, especially if it's 80% of the work. I mean, that's pretty good. I did notice that Ms. Enright left. I was going through some of the finance. Oh, she is. Oh. Hiding. I was looking through some of the financial forms, and I noticed that we have a special road and highway special revenue fund that has a balance of over $7 million in it. Any of these projects that we come across, I mean, are those eligible? I mean, obviously that's a cash balance in there of $7 million. Can we use any of that towards these projects?
Dawn Enright, Treasurer. The balance that are in the street account that you're talking about, that is under the jurisdiction of Director Photo. She would be able to speak more directly to that. It is earmarked for street improvements. So.
Okay. All right. I will follow up with her. Thank you so much.
All right. Any other questions? Alderman Jettie?
Thank you. So, I heard what you said about the current railroad bridge, but I'd like to hear from Mr. Hudson or Ms. Hannum, if you could remind me why we need to build this additional bridge when there's a bridge already there. I know people have said it's not safe, but can it be made safe? And you talked about the railroad using it twice a day, and if we're talking about the same railroad I've seen, I can walk faster than that railroad passes through the city. So I'm wondering, couldn't we have a fence or something to protect the pedestrians? Just seems like if we could reach some kind of an agreement with the railroad to make whatever repairs might be necessary, that just might be less expensive than building an entire new bridge. So could you help remind me about why we're doing this?
Sure. Liz Hannum, Economic Development Director. I think during the planning process, I think we talked to the railroad quite a bit about this, and they do not want pedestrians on that railroad at all. So I think that that was probably why we decided that we were going to need a separate one, and we don't own it. And so I think that that was a conversation. I think 2017 was when we did all the design work originally. 2019 was when we actually had the master plan created. So we can certainly have that conversation again before we spend any funding. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Senate?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on that same subject, I'll admit I haven't gone across that bridge in a few years. There used to be a sidewalk that led right onto that bridge, coming from the Canal Street side. If these conversations have happened with CSX, who I assume is whoever it is.
I think it was prior to CSX.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, the railroad company, they don't want people on that bridge. Have we, have the combined efforts made any strides toward blocking it off? If it's unsafe, it feels like it shouldn't be accessible, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't think we've had, go ahead.
Thank you again, Dan Hudson, city engineer. So it has been looked at, and assessments have been done. It's safe for the typical usage, a few people walking across the bridge at a time. I wouldn't go, put 100 people together on the bridge. During the early riverfront work, that was an alternative that was looked at, was rehabbing that versus building a new bridge. And we came to the conclusion that it was a better option, possibly even more, financially better to build a separate bridge. There is some kind of an agreement for that pedestrian crossing on the railroad bridge, but I don't know if it's a hard and fast right that we always have the right to use it. So we were somewhat concerned about building the rest of this riverfront walk and then having that be potentially in jeopardy should the railroad change their mind about us using it. So for a number of reasons like that, we came to this current proposal of a separate bridge.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Tebow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So is the bridge that's there now owned by the railroad company or another private company?
The railroad.
Okay, and do they have signs up that say like private property or anything like that, or?
I believe there's one on the Canal Street side. I don't know if there's one on the library side yet.
Okay, thank you.
I can double check.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, we have R-25-184 relative to the supplemental appropriation of $25,618 of FY 2025 unanticipated driver's education to special revenue fund, 2201 driver's education fund. I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage to the board.
Motion before us to recommend to the full board final passage of R-25-184. I believe that Mr. Gray is still on?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm here.
So,
So Crystal DeGray, COO, Nashua School District. Again, we're looking to go ahead and accept additional revenue into the driver's ed fund. This was from a vehicle loss reimbursement.
so it's basically the insurance funds coming back to cover the cost of a new car.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is correct. It is insurance loss reimbursement, and the driver's ed team has gone ahead and recommended to purchase a new vehicle at this time.
And since we're accepting funding that's not in the budget, we have to do this resolution. Any other questions? Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you. Again, I was going through the financial forms and I noticed that, well, these are from March, so this probably has changed. But there was a balance in that fund of $102,000. I thought you had said during the public comment that account is now in a deficit. Did you say that?
So no, from a clarity standpoint, the account isn't in a deficit. We did not anticipate getting this additional revenue of the $25,618,000 from the insurance loss. There was a vehicle purchased to offset that for $25,584.99. So when you look at fiscal year 27's ending balance, we've actually spent more in expenses than what was originally anticipated. Therefore, we're looking for the supplemental appropriation to go ahead and accept the additional revenue in that we weren't anticipating. So
Okay.
this account will not be in a deficit once this supplemental appropriation is passed through. And as of today, I'm actually showing this account has $100,000, just over $100,000 in it. It's $100,705.87 is where we'll start fiscal year 26.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have R-25-185, relative to the transfer of $35,000 from Department 194 contingency account 70100, general contingency, to Department 109, civic and community activities, accounting classification 56, outside agencies, for the purpose of providing funding to the National Association for the Elderly. I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage to the full board.
So the motion on the floor is to recommend final passage of R-25-185. Are there any questions? Alderman Wiltshire?
I don't have a question, but I think that the people from the board that spoke on public comment kind of laid it out there. It's $5,000 for a rainy day fund if something breaks during the year or whatever, and the rest is for general upkeep and maintenance. So it kind of seems like there's probably not much more to add to that.
And we've been giving them this money for a few years. Yes, Alderman Tico?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I support this fully. I've been to the National Senior Center on a couple of occasions, one to tour it, and I think it's a worthy place to have in the city. And I think we need to, as we like to say, support our senior citizens that have a place to go and enjoy the time. And it's a great place to go. And like Mr. Fredette said, it's always spotless. So I support it.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, we have R-25-187, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed $500,000 for the landfill gas expansion project at the Solid Waste Department, Four Hills Landfill. I'd like to make a motion for final passage to the full board.
The motion on the floor is to recommend final passage to the full board of R-25-187. Questions? Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. I was looking at the capital improvement program, and I had noticed that this specific program, it's $500,000 a year for the next 6 years, bringing the total to $3 million over the next 6 years. And I just didn't know if we had run the numbers on why not just bond the $3 million now as opposed to $500,000, $500,000, $500,000.
Anyone that can answer that?
It's a good question. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. This is kind of an annual program, so it is something that we expect to do every year for the next 6 years, as you noted. If we wanted to bond more now, we certainly wouldn't be opposed to that, but as it stands, we've been doing this on an annual basis.
Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. So first, a comment. As you were explaining it, we have to do this because it's federally mandated for us to capture this gas, right? So there's a rule that the feds put on us, and we're stuck to pay for it. I thought there was like an unfunded mandate or something that, I don't know, they're swimming around out there. Anyway, I did notice in the budget that since we capture this gas that can be used to fuel, to create energy that lights homes and whatnot, I noticed that our revenue off of that is only about $8,000 per year. I don't know, have we looked at, is that the going rate? Is there a way to capitalize that to raise more funds on this methane gas that we're creating to sell out on the grid or to just make better use of it?
So those are excellent questions. So when I said it gets generators generate and then power is made. The way it works is we contract with a company who owns that generation facility, and they maintain the equipment. They put up the capital costs and all that sort of thing. They then sell the energy and retain those funds. So. Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to someday enter into that business, so to speak, then we could do that, but there'd be large upfront capital costs. We either have to purchase it from them or build something similar. I mean, we have done that sort of thing at the wastewater treatment facility through the sludge digestion process. We take the energy from there. We have a couple of Caterpillar generators that run off of that, generate energy, and that offsets some of our electric costs at the plant. So. We have done that, but in this case at the landfill, we don't do that. We contract with somebody to do that. Our permit is that we have to destroy the gas. We can't just release the methane gas into the air. It would be perfectly okay for us to just flare it off, burn it off. That's an acceptable method, but this is a little bit better, more sustainable to, at least contract with an entity that burns it and power is made from it versus just burning it and wasting it to the air. So I don't know if that.
So really that 8,000 is just, that's the net of they take their expense out to run everything, hire all the people, do the thing, and then we get the 8,000 left over.
I'm not really the right guy to answer the question. It'd be Superintendent Jeff LaFleur would be better to answer that question, but my understanding expectation is maybe they're paying us for the gas that then they take and burn. So basically we're selling the gas to them, and then they do the rest of the process. So whether or not that $8,000 a year is equitable or not, that's not. I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
Okay, thanks.
Because I have talked to him, as we build up the landfill, they have to keep moving the pipes, and also we're going into phase 4, so there'll be more pipes, more gas. So this is an ongoing project, and it's $500,000 right now. We may decide to fund it a different way in the next year or two, or use it a different way. So we're addressing the current problem with the current funding.
Yep.
Alderman Tebow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So why don't we just pay it in cash? It's $500,000. Seems like a kind of a low amount to bond.
Again, yeah, I don't know the answer to that. It's more of a policy decision, what you're paying for cash versus what you're bonding. Obviously, paying for it in cash would cause an incremental increase in the to the enterprise fund because you're paying for that now versus, yes, you pay more over time, but you don't pay as much today, right? Like
right.
That's why many of us don't buy our cars in cash and that sort of thing, right? So it's really just a policy decision, is my understanding. If this is something that we expect to continue for years and years and years and years, that it might warrant discussion about putting it in a future operating budget. It's not in this year's operating budget though, so I would seek support of this at least for this year, and we could talk about that during budget season again next year.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions?
No.
I can see the gas burning off.
It's the methane gas.
If there are no additional questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
R-24-188, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to borrow an amount not to exceed $6,192,000 through the issuance of bonds and/or a loan through the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services State Revolving Loan Fund for the Wastewater Treatment Plant Phase 1 Upgrades Project. And I'd like to make a motion for final passage to the full board, to recommend to the full board.
The motion on the floor is to recommend final passage to the full board of R-25-188. Questions? Alderman Senate?
Thank you. I guess I want to rehash the wheel a little bit because I had asked during the public hearing about the state revolving fund or revolving loan. And I guess I'd just like to understand the timeline on that a little bit more. I thought I had heard, maybe I misheard, that we have already begun the application process. Then I think I may have also heard or maybe misheard that we need to have this in place in order to begin the application process. I was just hoping somebody could speak to that broad view process in a little more detail.
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. My understanding is that you can apply but in order to actually receive the money, you actually have to have an approval for borrowing the money. So you can apply for the project and position yourself on their list. But when it comes time to, if you make the list, high on the list to receive the money, you should already have in place an approval to borrow that money. Because everything is kind of on a time basis for the state. If you're not ready to go, then they find another facility to give it to.
Sure.
It's much like many of the airport things we did over the years. You can apply for the federal funding, but when they decide to pull the trigger, if you haven't got the approval to do it, they move to the next city or town, or they don't wait, they don't come back, they don't give you extra time. So what they're saying is this has to be approved and in place so that if they select us, we can go for it. Alderman Senate?
Thank you. So just setting aside the assumption for a moment that approval of this resolution is one of their criteria, do you have any familiarity with what their criteria are for selecting projects for approval of the loans? What sort of things they're looking for? What might position us to be ahead or behind of other communities?
I know one thing that they do look at is whether your project is to meet certain regulatory requirements and that you're failing certain regulatory requirements. For this project, we're not, so we might not score as high as some facilities. The gravity of the project, how much it costs. The size of your town also plays a factor. If, there's minimal fundings available, sometimes that gives you points.
Follow up?
Thank you. This should be my final one, but trying to think of the right way to word this. Is there, in terms of the project, set aside the loan, in terms of the project, is there a timeliness in terms of when we want this to start so that we want to have all our ducks in the row? Ultimately, what I'm thinking out loud here is, could this legislation have been authorization to pursue the loan, and then should that not work out, then the bond comes to us? I'm not entirely comfortable with, like I had referred to it, the if-then sort of situation. And I'm just wondering if that's a possibility or if this is, we're just waiting for the go.
Yeah, no, we try to align everything. Obviously, we're trying to fix the facility in a timely fashion. We don't want things to get, horribly bad where you have to rebuild everything. This project, we've already started preliminary design on it. Our goal is to have something ready to bid by April of next year for hopefully construction in September. And this is a multi-year project. So that's the timeline for us.
Right, one more, I lied.
Follow up.
Stop lying.
Can't. Do you have an anticipated timeline when you would have an answer regarding the loan?
I do not.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you. Should I think of this bond resolution as collateral towards that loan? Is that how I should be thinking about this? So the bank that's giving us this loan, they're looking at this as to say, well, your city council has approved a bond authorization, so we know you're not going to default on the loan, so you've backed it up. Is that how I should be thinking of this?
I'm not sure I understand your question, but.
Well, whenever you apply for a loan, you want to make sure you have enough assets or whatever in case you default on the loan, you can pay the bank back. I mean, I'm thinking, is this loan authorization like that? Is it specific to that?
Yeah, I think for the wastewater facility, is that, this is work that has to get done because we put it into our 20-year plan, and it's kind of tailored with our rate study. I think the bond is just if we don't get the SRF loan, the bond is the backup where we use the bond, to pay for the project, through the enterprise, it's all paid through the enterprise fund, but in the anticipation that the SRF loan is a better rate than the bond. That's
Okay.
why we push for the SRF loan.
Okay.
So if we don't get the loan, we won't do the bond. I mean, if we don't, if we
loan,
get the
we do
loan, we won't do the bond.
Right, correct.
Go ahead, Alderman Sullivan.
But if we don't get the loan, we're still doing the project and we're going to bond it.
That's correct.
Okay. Follow up, please.
Follow up?
So there are a few bonds in front of us tonight, and that totals just about $1 million more per year when you factor in principal and interest. It's about $1 million a year when you factor in the three. And I noticed in your budget, your revenue's $39 million, your appropriations are $39 million. So when you say we're going to pay for this through the enterprise fund, unlike solid waste, which is subsidized by the general fund by about $5 million, you break even. When you say you're going to pay for it through the enterprise fund, does that mean you raise sewer rates?
That's correct.
Okay.
If.
So
yeah.
it will, so
If
next
some-
year it will
some
be
projects
40
would
and
drop
40.
off. Yeah, some older projects would drop off, sometimes balancing, the new bonds. But yes, if we needed more money, it would be a rate increase.
Okay.
Correct.
So if I say yes to this, then I know then there's going to be a wash between revenues and appropriations, right?
Yeah, so, yeah, that's why we do like a 3-year projection on the rate study.
Yeah.
So we kind of know 3 years ahead what
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
projecting.
All right. I'm good.
All right,
Thanks.
any other questions? Seeing none, I recommend to the full board final passage of R-25-188. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
R-25-189, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed $3,280,000 for various wastewater capital improvements. I'd like to recommend final passage to the full board.
Motion on the floor is to recommend to the full board final passage of R-25-189. Comments? Questions? Alderman Sullivan.
A comment. It does say various in here, and I went through and I looked at how many projects this ticks off the list. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 8 different projects off the capital improvement plan. So I like the fact that, I don't love to bond money, but it is, we have to take care of what we have, especially in that part of town. I don't want to be that guy if your toilet doesn't flush and doesn't go anywhere.
Alderman Senate.
Also a comment, maybe packaged with a question. Just looking at the CSO lines on here, I am in a neighborhood where the toilet backs up and the storm drains do every time it pours. Lucky us, we're old. I know that's an ongoing issue in my neighborhood, and that we have a lot of combined sewer overflow there. This is a very broad, long-term question. Is there any vision for the future where we get more adequate separation than what we currently have?
I'll help Dave out with this a little bit. Yes, we're always pursuing separation where it makes sense. A couple years ago, we had some major rainstorms, right? A whole bunch of areas got flooded. Some places have more regular occurrence backups, as you're noting. So we are always continually investigating separation. That's one of the things we're looking to do. Some of that would get covered in this resolution. Some of that could also be done in the sewer improvements resolution. So we have a number of projects in the works, separation projects in the works to address those issues. Those will get brought individually as designs and what forth come together. But that is something that we do. Some of that too, in addition to addressing the resident backups, it helps recoup some of the plant capacity. So that's available for residential growth and actual sewer treatment, not treatment of stormwater, which may or may not need to be treated to the same level as wastewater, obviously. So yeah, it's something we're always working on, and it is in our plans.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Additional questions? Seeing none. Motion before us is R25-189 to recommend final passage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
R-25-192, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed $4,025,000 for the city's sewer, infrastructure improvement, and sewer and drain casting replacement programs. I'd like to recommend final passage to the full board.
Motion before us is to recommend to the full board final passage of R-25-192. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have R-25-193, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed $3,800,000 for the design and construction of a wastewater treatment facility, vehicle and maintenance garage. I'd like to recommend final passage to the full board.
Motion on the floor is to recommend final passage of R-25-193 to the full board. Questions? Alderman T-Bone.
Yeah, thank you. So on this one, this is one I'm going to have a hard time supporting, as much as it breaks my heart to do that. We have right now looking at 2 garages in 2 different places. You know, I guess the question is, we're not going 2 stories on these things, right? Because I know that was mentioned in the first public comment section or public hearing. But I just, and I want to protect the vehicles. I think that's critical for the future. But I just don't know if we can bite this off right now, in my opinion. If someone can convince me, that's fine. But I just think at this moment, it might be wiser to push this off a little bit. I think it's a lot of money, and we may have to decide which garage to do one year, which garage to do or start to do the next year. And this is just really for the design. So, and maybe a tiny bit of construction. So obviously it's going to balloon higher to a bigger amount. We talked about that in the public hearing. And I don't know. If we're thinking about which garage is more important to its vehicles now, Director Photo is going to have to come here and tell us, like, which garage is more important. I mean, technically, they both fall under her at some point, so it'd be nice to hear that. I don't know if Mr. Boucher knows that or not, or probably yours is probably the most important, right?
No, I'd say they're both important
Yeah.
with the aspect of protecting the vehicles. Ours was part of our 20-year plan. It is paid through the enterprise fund and factored into our rate study. With that, and it's certainly a smaller garage, but it suits wastewater's needs. It's going to be built differently than the Public Works garage, which is absolutely needed. I understand that, but yeah, I hate to combine the two.
I know. Yeah.
I would just also to point out that, so we engaged an architect who was working on the Public Works garage on West Hall Street. We're intending or are using the same architect to advance this project, so there could be some, economies of scale, so to speak. Can kind of cover 2 things in one meeting, that sort of thing. If this tracks along the same timeline as the other garage, if those things are done separate, you possibly wouldn't have that benefit. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention for your full understanding of what we're trying to do here.
Okay, thank you. I
Just
appreciate
a
it.
couple points there. This is already in their plan. The rate structure's already been determined using this project as going forward. It is going to cover up very expensive vehicles. If you've ever been familiar with those vehicles, they're pretty complex. And leaving them outside in the weather is going to mean they get replaced faster, and they're very expensive. Alderman Jettie?
So, I kind of, thought about this and thinking about, somebody mentioned economies of scale, and, I kind of wonder, why, this is all part of the Public Works Department. We're building a new garage at the landfill. Why can't this new garage at the landfill accommodate the wastewater vehicles? And, you've got, mechanics, I'm oversimplifying, but a truck is a truck, and you've got, lifts that are capable of raising trucks. We've only got so many trucks. I don't think the lifts would all be used at the same time. It seems like we could save some money by incorporating the wastewater trucks at the new garage at the landfill and use the same equipment, and, you know, I might be I'm probably oversimplifying it, but, you know, what do what does the city engineer and the superintendent, you know, think about being able to combine the maintenance of these vehicles in one facility?
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. Yeah, for the maintenance portion, we would have to truck vehicles over to the street department to service them. However, for our crew, we're the only department that's located in a different area than the rest of the Public Works Department. So for our crew to come into work each day and not have the trucks available, have to go to another department to get the trucks, didn't seem reasonable. And plus, for emergency purposes, our crew comes to the wastewater plant to gather all the equipment to go out and do the servicing. So having our vehicles at another location would be difficult. I don't know if that answers your question.
You know, I guess, you know, I and probably everybody else will bow to your expertise, but it doesn't sound like a problem that is impossible to overcome, you know. The drivers of those vehicles, instead of, you know, going to the wastewater treatment plant, would just go to the other place first. And I mean, you know, their vehicles, they're going out on projects in the city. They're not, the vehicles aren't being used at the wastewater treatment plant. They have to go somewhere in the city and do whatever they do, and they might return to the wastewater treatment plant. But, you know, it just seems like a problem that would be easily overcome, but I bow to your expertise.
Yeah, I think we factored in, like, you know, the crew does come in, they do have their locker. I don't know what we have for room at the Public Works Department for our crew, but I know that everything at the wastewater plant is tailored to our crew. We have the, like I said, the locker rooms, all the equipment that goes with the trucks that we need is all in one location.
All set?
Yep, thank you.
Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you. I am not going to support this bond resolution. A few reasons. Number one, I mentioned it earlier, but the capital improvement program that was put together in the spring, they ranked 129 different projects, and this specific project, out of those 129, ranked number 62. And all the different factors, urgency, economic impact, readiness, et cetera, et cetera. So I understand that we did tick off and have ticked off a few of those projects ahead of those other 61 that are ahead of it. And I understand that this gets paid through the enterprise. I understand all that. But once we build it, I'm trying to better understand that a city of this age, I know we like to do new, but I think sometimes a dollar might be better spent fixing stuff that we already have built or need to repair. And I think that anybody could drive around the city and look at 61 other projects that probably are ahead of this, where this $3 million and change could go. And I just think overall a cost of ownership, once we build it, yes, there's going to be the $3 million. I think, I don't have it open right now, but I think the total cost might be $10 million. You know, then we have the building, we own it, we're going to have to maintain it, not now, but in years to come, once that bond has already expired. And those are just some of the reasons that I'm going to say no to it.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm also struggling with this one. Alderman Sullivan, you were right. I've got your favorite document open. It's at $10.8 million. We haven't really even been able to make progress on the second ask for funding of continued design of the DPW garage. And like I said earlier in the public hearing, design is just, it's really quickly becoming a red flag for me, because we authorize funding for design, and then we get into the design process, and then the design costs more. And before long, we're beyond the 10.8 million estimate, and we haven't even poured a foundation. I don't question the need for this. I understand the funding mechanisms. I think Mr. Boucher has probably forgotten more about wastewater than I'll ever know about anything, so I don't doubt his dedication to what he does or the sincerity when he asks for something, but we've approved a lot here tonight, and I just struggle to move on with this when we still have similar projects in similar arenas on the table.
So Director Photo just texted me and asked that somebody move this to be put on the table so we can bring it up at another meeting and she can talk to it. Alderman Kelly?
Motion to table.
Motion on the floor is to table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion's tabled. Okay. New business ordinances?
There is none.
None. Table in committee?
None.
General discussion? Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. I know it's not on the agenda, but there is a lot of appropriation and bond resolution approving, and before these go, you still there? I was hoping that Ms. Enright could give us a tally of where we are in the cap, please, because we did a lot of appropriating in the way we calculate the cap. From what I understand, that 1.7 million that we would get from the feds would go towards the cap, correct?
Ms. Enright, would you want to come up and?
She's nodding.
Director Cummings is on as well, if there's.
Donna Enright, Treasurer. The 1.7 would go against the cap. Yes, it is an appropriation. I do not have the calculation, but I would be happy to provide it to the full board when I get back in the office.
Yeah, just before, I would just ask if we could get that before these all go for a final vote, just so we know where we are, we can get our bearings on where things stand against the cap. I'd appreciate it.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can remember, in the budget stuff, I can remember seeing what we've passed for the 26 budget, and there was a whole list of projects on there, and we were still like 13 million under the cap. So, but I don't remember what the projects were.
Yeah.
It was the 2026
Yeah.
bonds that we approved
Right.
at the tail end of 2025.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Alderman Tebow?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, I know we tabled it before I could even finish. I wanted to ask one question no, it's okay, because then I was just going to table it. But, so that's not a slam at anybody. But I kind of wanted to know, and I don't know if they'll be able to bring it to the next time we talk about it, but like, how many vehicles is there in that, compared to how many vehicles we have in the DPW? And is there any way to tell savings of having a garage cover the vehicles? I know it makes them last longer, but do we have anything out there in the world that can tell us kind of like, if we put these vehicles in a garage that keeps them, a year, 2 years, 3 years longer, how much savings is that compared to, putting out a $60 million garage, over time? Because it sounds like we still have to put money into that garage after, right? So I don't know if there's any way to tell that, but I mean, that kind of makes me think about the decision, because I know DPW has a ton of vehicles that can't fit into the garage today. So there's some outside. So I know those are getting, more corrosion, more rusting, all that stuff. So I get that piece of it, but if everything was in a garage, how much would we save over time? And I don't know if it's, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it would be enough to cover anytime in our lifetime the expense of these garages. But I could be wrong on that, I don't know, and that's why I kind of wish there was a way to calculate that or tell us that, but it may not be.
I believe Director Photo can talk to that. They had somebody do that analysis, and it was pretty substantial. It's like millions.
That'd be great. I'd like to see it again.
Alderman Sullivan?
Well, I was going to comment to Alderman Tebow's point is that there's a name for that. It's called a cost-benefit analysis. And if you say, okay, well, we're going to, normally this truck, we'd have to replace it in 7 years, but if we put it under cover, it's going to get us an extra 4. I don't know. And then that just kicks the surf out a little bit further. So I think for both of these garages, a cost-benefit analysis would be a huge thing for us to at least have that in our back pocket to say, look, we're spending money, but it's going to save us money in the long term. And we don't just speak to platitudes. We actually have the numbers to back it up.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think you and I both know in industry, you do business cost analysis all the time to decide whether you want to move forward on something. Alderman Kelly.
I have a couple of questions. So I, when we were talking, pulled up our bonding plan that the ad hoc committee put together. So that was, just guiding the conversation and all the questions around it. So my question through you to the president is, do we have any ongoing thought processes to whether that group will meet again and look at it each year? How's that going to work so we can stay up to date?
Well, the mayor and I just had a conversation about reinstituting that committee, so I think we will soon. There's no definite date yet, but yes, I think we will.
I appreciate that because I think constantly keeping an eye on what's happening and having that transparency would be great. I had one other comment, not related, but we keep bringing it back to federal funding. I know it was something that I talked about a lot during the budget committee because we really weren't sure what we were going to have and not have. But I think the reality of it is every city and town has some level of funding that comes from the federal government. And by the time it gets to us, it's been appropriated and ready to go. So if we just say no to it, it just goes to another city or town and will increase the taxes for the property owners here in Nashua. So I'm going to keep saying that because I pay my federal taxes and I pay my local taxes, and I'm quite happy to get my federal taxes back here in Nashua to invest in infrastructure. Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Sullivan?
Sorry to keep this going, but just to Alderwoman Kelly's point about when you reconvene the ad hoc, it was mentioned tonight about the 500,000. It was a policy decision. I do recall somewhere, I thought I heard that anything below a certain amount, we were not going to bond. If you could just make a mental note to revisit, is there a hard cap on anything above it or below it, we're going to pay cash?
Will do.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Public comment?
My name is Paula Johnson. I'm still here with all of you. I just want to say thank you for tabling R-25-193, and I want to thank my Alderman Jettie for getting the conversation going on the 2 different garages here. There's ways to cover a vehicle. You can get those protective covers that aren't as expensive as building a garage that protects vehicles that you see it at homes that don't have garages. But you have to think about people who go to work every day. If you're in the vending industry, in order to go out and fill vending machines or repair vending machines, you take your vehicle to your employer, you park your vehicle there, and you get into your employer's vehicle and you go out and go to work. There's no reason why people from Waste Management can't pick up a vehicle at the DPW garage that's being built on West Hollick Street, the extension of that big administration building in the back. I mean, if you have to, it can be done. It's just that we don't want to do it here because it's easier just to build another building to house vehicles or put vehicles there. So I want to say thank you for tabling it because this really needs to be a discussion on putting in another garage, because the one that we're talking about at DPW, we started off with $2.2 million for design. Now it's up to $5.5 million. We're asking for more. If you add that together, if my math is correct, it's $7.7 million, and we haven't even put, any concrete on the ground. So, I mean, these are big, huge projects. And again, I keep saying, that garage, yep, where it is, right by Conway Ice, as we know, they got a sheet of ice out of us. I think it's for $1 a year for 99 years. And if Conway Ice is going to take that garage, I hope we're going to sell it for market value, so we, the people, get some money back, rather another $1 a year for 99 years. And I voted against that, if I remember correctly, because I felt it wasn't right for the citizens. So we build these garages, we don't do maintenance. Again, where's the maintenance plans? Because if you're going to build all these buildings, brand new buildings, in 20, 30 years, because 2.2 million, I think, on that bond resolution was for, I think, a 30-year lifespan. Now, the 5.5, if you look at it, I believe it's only 20 years. So is this building going to last 20 or 30 years? I mean, let's clean up the act here. And also, I'd like to see some of these bids, because we said we might have the same architect doing the same work. Well, it has to go out for bids, don't it? It's over $10,000, if I remember correctly. It has to be a bid project. And it really confuses me and gets me crazy here. Why is it always the same companies that are doing all the same work? Are they the only ones who know what we want? If they're a good company,
30 seconds.
They know what you want when you lay it out in all your contracts. So I'm curious to see the bid process here and who's bidding these jobs and who's going to get the project. Again, thank you all. Have a good night.
Remarks by Alderman? Alderman Tebow?
Yeah, so I have a couple. So first off, something in public comment, I just wanted to clarify. Alderman Jetty hasn't resigned. He's just not running again. He's still with us here in the chamber. I know it was said that he resigned, but he did not resign. He's just not running. And we would love to keep him if he wanted to run again. Also, I love that we got our first endorsements for the election season. Alderman Sullivan, Alderman GOV, and Alderman Thibodeau got Lori Ortolano's endorsement, so I think that's pretty cool. I didn't get it, even though some of the things that she was talking about, I've definitely been involved in. For instance, the trust funds. I think it was, other people were talking about it, but me and Alderman Senate worked with Ms. Enright and Ms. DeGray to get those things cleaned up and into a meeting where they started working on them, and they're in a much better shape now because of it. And I thank both of them for doing that and having that meeting with us and Alderman Dowd to making that meeting during budget season. So I appreciate that. I also got yelled at by a staff member, which I'm not going to say who, for holding Director Cummings to the fire to getting some more transparency on the projects that were being done here in City Hall, including HVAC. So to say that some of us other aldermen here aren't doing their job at trying to get numbers and trying to get transparency is just not true. And I mean, I did it even tonight with some of the questions I asked, and some of the other aldermen as well. You know, I'm going to continue to ask that because we do need more numbers. We do, to Alderman Sullivan's point, we need more cost-benefit analysis on things. We need to see more statuses of where projects are. We do need to see that. Our constituents want that. And I'm going to keep pushing for that stuff. And maybe I got to, you know, be a little softer in my tone sometimes. But I think sometimes we need to see that stuff. And, you know, I've asked for a lot of stuff in this chambers when other people are silent. So I would be happy not to have that endorsement, and I'm congratulating the ones that got it. So thank you. That's it.
Yes, Alderman Kelly.
I know it's late, I wasn't going to speak, but I did want to respond to the last public comment. It was interesting to me that the thing that was brought up was infrastructure and making sure that we're actually maintaining our buildings. Because I've been saying over and over and over again that the reason we shouldn't even have a deferred maintenance. That should not be a line item in our budget, but because of the spending cap and because it's been kicked down the road year after year after year, we end up paying a lot more and waiting to the very end to do the maintenance. So I would love a maintenance plan, but we get our hands tied over and over again. That's all.
I think we've made great strides in that. The BPW has that 20-year plan, and that is maintaining their equipment. The fire department did their plan and now have an analysis of their requirements and new stations and things, and also their deferred maintenance. And the school department's in the process of doing right now on all 20 buildings. So I think we've taken great steps in looking ahead at ensuring that we know what needs to be done and when, so we can plan ahead. And also, the city is looking at creating a maintenance department for all city buildings outside of schools, much like the school department has for schools, so that deferred maintenance can be planned, allocated, funded, taken care of. So, anything else? Did we tire you that much?
Yeah, it's been a long day.
Okay, motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at